The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when they signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's a price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life.
Good evening. This is retired Circuit Judge Rusty Johnston along with Adam Strange, and this is Armed Alabama, and that was Buck Allen, who has graciously contributed his song as kind of our theme song for the show. If you'd go to his website or his Facebook page, actually, I believe he's still offering that as a free download, but we'll get you that information in just a moment. Here on the Armed Alabama Show, we're now 2 hours. We go to 8 o'clock tonight, and if you're new to us, we welcome you to the show. Here on the show, we talk about pistols, revolvers, rifles, shotguns, ammunition, concealed carry, personal defense training, and attacks on our God-given right to protect ourselves and our family. My co-host, of course, is Adam Strange, and he's here with me, and we've got a show for you tonight. Now, if you were tuning in looking to hear NPR's All Things Considered, you're in the wrong place. Besides, I think that closed down when Pravda did. So you'll get no PC here and no Marxism, and this show is definitely not for you delicate flower types. Tonight, we're going to talk about a number of things, but one of the things we will talk about, the war on police apparently continues at a record number of police shootings and killings during the week. But we also want to talk guns. And one of the things we're going to talk about, are you one of the people that carries a handgun with an empty chamber? If you are, we really want to talk about that because you're making a big mistake. Now, what have you been up to, Adam, and what do you have on your plate?
Of course, Judge, we have a lot tonight. Just want to say if you want to call in or text to us here in the studio, it's 251-343-0106. It's 251-343-0106. And, of course, be sure and check out our Facebook page, Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5. And, of course, we're on Twitter, Armed Alabama 106.5. And, of course, our website, armedalabama.com. You can go there and you can listen to all our previous shows. And you can go there, you can listen live. So if you're out of the studio or radio listening area, you can go and listen to our website. We're simulcasting 106.5 at all times. And if you want to listen to our previous shows, we have an extensive library. Matter of fact, all of them on that website. You can go and listen. Want to listen to our previous shows, we have an extensive library. Matter of fact, all of them on that website. You can go and listen to them at your leisure. There's a lot of people come and tell me, it's like, hey, I can't ever get a chance to hear your radio show on the radio, but I listen to it on your website. So that's kind of cool. So about 20% of the listeners, I think, are probably listening off the website. So it's
time shifting, I think they call that.
Yeah.
You can also, on our YouTube channel, we've got every show, because I finished last week's right before I came. Every show is there. Of course, it's in a video type format to get it on YouTube, but every show is there, as well as self-defense videos, police shootings. Now I've opened a playlist on that. So it is really, the last week I've really done some uploading.
Yeah, between the police shootings and everything that's happening with that, And of course, over in Europe, overseas, you have ISIS that's attacking people, or members claiming to be ISIS. Of course, was the individual that killed 64 people in Nice, France, women and children. Some of those pictures are just absolutely horrendous.
And he also had a gun.
Yes.
And I didn't think you were supposed to have a gun or could get a gun in Europe.
Yeah.
He broke the law.
Gun control, you can see, doesn't work there.
Yeah.
So I looked at some of those pictures, and they're just heartbreaking. Some of the families are there. The pictures were of the families or the people, their victims that were laying on the pavement, covered in tarps. Some of them were children. They had dolls and toys laid beside them, and it was just heart-wrenching.
And was it today? I'm getting my time mixed up. In Germany, a man who was believed to be one of these refugees on a German train with an axe, yelling "Allah Akbar," chopped and wounded, and I think killed a number of people. I think 18 or so. But I know a couple were dead, and imagine getting hit with an axe. And, of course, everyone is completely unarmed, no concealed carry, no way to defend yourself from someone swinging an axe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just heart-wrenching. Some of the scenes are there that's transpiring. You just couldn't imagine being in that situation. You yourself, a family member being a victim, it's just terrible.
Yet they refuse to close off the borders to Asia and refuse to allow any type of firearms to be owned by their citizens. It's just amazing to me.
And the thing about that is we have the open borders as well. They might as well say they're open borders because it's not being stopped. And they know that all the people coming in illegally are not from Mexico. They're from lots of Latin American countries, from Cuba, and even some countries in the Middle East.
Right. It's like all the people that are coming in Europe are not Syrian. I saw a number interviewed. There was an Egyptian, there was a Tunisian, a Libyan. Yep. I don't know that anybody I saw they interviewed was from Syria.
Yeah, and that's what's being stated. They are from Syria, and of course, how many of those have been vetted that we're allowing into this country, and who knows who's coming into this country, and could we potentially have that kind of attack?
And yet they want to increase the so-called vetting on us to buy firearms. I don't know how it gets any deeper other than to hook you up to a polygraph. I mean, I saw some left-wingers that were protesting at a Trump rally, and they were arguing with, let's put it that, kind of a right-wing kook, but, we would probably like him, but he was a little on the edge. And they insisted there was no vetting or no background check when you purchased a firearm. And he said, well, how would you know? You're a bunch of blanks who've never purchased one. And they thought that. And I guess they're reading Mother Jones or something and don't understand that if you buy from a federal firearms licensee, there's an extensive background check. It's just, they're just off in la-la land. Well, even one of the FBI, not the director who gave us the show last week, they have assistant directors. He testified before Congress that when you bought a firearm by one of the internet services, that he didn't know whether you had to go through the background check or not.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to do that. Anybody can buy a firearm.
Have it mailed to your house.
Yeah. Anybody can buy a firearm over the internet. Grenade launchers.
Yeah, it's just
Claymores.
Incredible that he wouldn't know that. I mean, I would hope somebody that just had average sense would know that.
Well, that's the false narrative that you can buy anything off the internet, any weapon, any firearm. There's no background checks. There's nothing that takes place there.
Right.
Which is absolutely false.
It's the Turkish bazaar. Speaking of turkey, I think turkey is better at Thanksgiving and Christmas and not in July. Much prefer it then. You acted like you had some hot off the press item here, and I shouldn't interrupt.
I don't know about hot off the presses, but we're getting ready for a break. Please call in if you want to talk to us or text us at 251-343-0106. We'll be back. This is Armed Alabama.
If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline. The Mossy Oak Store of Foley is the one stop for all of your beach and outdoor lifestyle needs. You'll find outlet prices on exclusive Mossy Oak brand camo and casual apparel for the beach or the boat, along with one of the Gulf Coast's largest selections of performance fishing apparel from Columbia Sportswear, Hook Fishing, Aftco, and Guy Harvey, as well as a huge offering of Yeti coolers and accessories, Costa sunglasses, gear and accessories, and Eno hammocks. Be sure to stop by the Mossy Oak Store and register to win. Located just behind the Coleman Store in Foley, the Mossy Oak Store of Foley.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I own this establishment. Bought it from Greeley for $1,000.
You better clear out of there.
Yes, sir.
Just hold it right there. Hold it!
You just shot an unarmed man.
Well, he should have armed himself.
That is Unforgiven. Clint Eastwood. Welcome back to Armed Alabama. I'm Adam Strange with Judge Rusty Johnson. Glad you can join us. We've been told time and time again there's lots of people listening, and we have new listeners all the time. And we're glad that you tuned in tonight. If you don't know anything about me, just I'll give you a little background. Again, I'm Adam Strange. And I hold 11 different firearms instructor certifications, including NRA law enforcement certifications for handgun, shotgun, and patrol rifle. And Judge, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, quickly. Of course, been a lawyer since '84. Was a circuit judge for 18 years. I've been an NRA pistol and revolver certified instructor, maybe 9 years. 8 years, 9 in that area. Also certified in personal protection in the home, another NRA certification. How to harden your home, defend yourself in the home, etc. I was director of the 13th Judicial Circuit Court Police for 10 years. All the facets of that, securing buildings, bomb threats, all of that. And been really kind of specializing in self-defense, shootings, how to defend yourself, etc. And you and I taught a self-defense class for 5 years or so?
6 years, yeah.
And I don't know how many people, 500 people at least came through there. So now we have a company called Armed Alabama LLC, where we teach a particular type of self-defense shooting. We're getting ready to expand that training, which involves close quarters combat, which is how to survive in a street fight, not Olympic-style range shooting. It's what do you do if someone jumps on you or approaches you on the street? Because most self-defense shootings are 10 feet or less.
Yep. In the concealed carry situation, and we discuss home defense situation as well.
Right.
And one of the topics tonight that we have is should you or should you not carry around in the chamber of your firearms. You and I were surprised about how many people we've run into that carry their firearm or say they carry their firearm in a holster, concealed carry, and they carry their firearm without a round in the chamber.
And unfortunately, I'll remind everyone of a tragic incident months before I was sworn into the bench of a shootout at Government Plaza where one officer was killed, one was pretty severely wounded, and one other was wounded. The court police at the time did not keep rounds in the chamber, and a mentally disturbed man came through the post 1, the screening station. The alarm went off, and just as the police officer went to ask him, "Sir, do you have he opened fire. Well, they had to rack their slides. Fortunately, a Mobile police officer was just coming in and shot first, and there was a shootout. But that half a second, that whatever it took, he got the drop on everybody. And there was blood everywhere. It was a real terrible tragedy. And that made me, of course, I knew from before that, but, you know, if you've got an original Colt single action from 1873, sure, you ought to keep an empty round, or ought to keep a no round in the cylinder right under the hammer. Because it doesn't have the safety features that a new reproduction would have.
A modern firearm has lots of safety features.
They're drop tested.
Yes.
You could throw. In fact, it's better not to try to catch. If you drop your firearm, it's better not to try to catch it, because the odds are better that your finger might get stuck and the gun go off. But I don't know how that. It may have gotten started with the myth of that, but I think people are just scared. It's like, you know, this rack in a shotgun. Why would you keep an unloaded shotgun next to your bed if you don't have children around? You know, all you're doing is, if you're not an expert trying to rack a shotgun in the night when you've just woken up and you're frightened, you're just putting one more thing in there that could go wrong. And the same thing with an empty chamber when you're, concealed carrying. I mean, a gunfight isn't somebody calling you out and saying, you know, "Hey, Slim, I'm going to take you down," and you're 50 feet away. It's more like somebody running up behind you that you think's a jogger and kicking you in the back and knocking you on the ground. And imagine trying to recover from that and rack a slide and defend yourself. It'd be real difficult to do.
Most individuals I've talked to that do not keep a round in the chamber, they'd say, "Well, you know, I'm just not comfortable." And
Right.
If you're not comfortable, then you need to seek ways to make yourself comfortable, whether that's going to the range and shooting.
Training and education.
Finding the class. Hopefully you attend our class. We have a really good program. But whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself comfortable to keep a firearm with a round in the chamber, to be able to load and unload, holster, unholster, and be comfortable with it.
Now, I'll say a 1911, I know the science behind it, but it's like I represented an elevator company one time, and I rode up and down on the top cab of an elevator. I know the science that it can't fall unless an airplane, hits a building and cuts the cables, but I still don't trust it. It's kind of like a 1911. I still don't trust it.
Judge, we have with us in the studio a friend of mine. Glenn was able to join us tonight, and we're glad to have him. And Glenn has a different perspective on things, maybe not necessarily different so much, but maybe just from his point of view. But Glenn's glad you could join us. Thank you for being here.
And Glenn, we would never stereotype anybody, but since it came up last week, Glenn is the Black Avenger. He's a African American gun user. Gun concealed carrier. And last week it was said, black folks aren't allowed on the shooting ranges. They're all kind of terrible stuff.
Yeah, I think one of the callers talked about a narrative, and maybe you can talk to that in more detail about that. Black people can't go to the range, they can't have firearms in the car, or they can't carry firearms on their persons, concealed carry or what have you, for fear of police or law enforcement officers shooting them down in the street. So what say you on that?
Before I start that, go into that, let me just give a brief of myself. I'm a degree mechanical engineer for 14 years now. Currently work in aerospace. I've worked for a number of global companies such as Rolls-Royce, United Airlines, Delphi Automotive Systems. I'm a novice gun enthusiast. Just getting into guns here just recently.
Be careful. I was too one time.
So learning as I go.
It grows on you.
Exactly. I'm also a concealed carry holder from the state of Ohio. But anyways, back to your point on the issue of the gun range and not feeling comfortable. I can only speak my own personal experience, but again, I've been to the gun range several times, not as often as I should. However, but every time I've gone there, I've been here a couple of times in Alabama, in South Carolina, in Ohio, and I've never gotten the impression that I didn't belong there. I didn't get the impression that there's eyes upon me, like, what is he doing here? I go in there, I say, hey, I would like to use the range. Normally, I would rent a gun. I don't bring my own gun. And I go ahead and purchase ammunition, and I go to the range and fire. No problem. Right here in Spanish Fort, we have that, I believe it's Three Brothers. It's out there in the country. You would think maybe a range like that, you would get the kind of feel like, what are you doing here? I've never got that feeling, none whatsoever, on any level whatsoever. So again, speaking from my own personal experience, I don't get that vibe where you have to feel uncomfortable going to a gun range, or more importantly, I have to feel uncomfortable around police officers. I don't get that. I don't get that vibe whatsoever. But again, my experience has been different.
You know, I think, Glenn, a lot of that is yourself, because I've gone to gun ranges where I felt uncomfortable, where, you know, but that's kind of me. I keep always a lot of silhouette targets. And this was one out in the country near Montgomery. And it was kind of rough looking. I mean, I'll just tell you, a lot of rednecks. And I took about 25 of those targets in there. And, you know, when you order them by, you know, the 500, they're 15 cents. And I handed them out. And, boy, you know, I was the hit at the place. But until then, you know, I felt a little, but that's me. But I found at a gun range, that's where everybody is a friend. I mean, when I'm at a gun range and I don't know the person near me, any gun I have, I'll say, would you like to try this? And I don't see any color there except, you know, blue and silver. I'm trying to think of any other colors of guns. I guess, yeah. I mean, you know, that's what I see. And I found the friendliest people. Years ago, you kind of almost had an anti-woman vibe at some gun ranges. I think a lot of that's gone away, hopefully. But I think it's each person's personality.
Now, I will say this. It's kind of a little funny, but I went to meet some friends of mine over in Spanish Fort at that gun range. And now I walked in there. Now, of course, you know, this was my first time there at that gun range. And I walked in, and you do get an initial, like, okay. But, you know, you walk up to the counter and I say, hey, I'm looking for my party that they said they were going to be in the back. Where do I go? And the guy...
Yeah,
the guy goes,
kind of a jokester.
Yeah, the guy goes, oh, you must be Big Ugly. And I said, what? Oh, and then I remembered because my buddy calls me Big Ugly because he's apparently jealous of my good looks. So anyways, and he said, yeah, that's me. So, oh, yeah, your party's back there. And he was very cordial, very friendly.
Yeah.
He made me feel right at home. I had no problem, no issue with it. I went to the back, took out my weapons, took out my guns, and started firing, started shooting. No issues.
Yeah, the biggest problem at gun ranges right now is the heat.
Yeah.
You know, it's hot.
Yeah, in the middle of July.
No
to
question
try to go
about
and shoot.
it. Folks, remember, we got some open lines for you at 251-343-0106. We're going to have to step into a break in a second, but we'd love to have some calls on that issue. Do you carry with a empty chamber or not? If you do carry it with one, there may be a good reason. Tell us why. We're going to step into a break, and on the other side of the break, we'll take your calls and text at the studio at 343-0106. This is Armed Alabama.
When they're running down our country, man, they're walking on the fighting side of me. They're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down a way of life our fighting men have fought and died to keep.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
Look for a few evening thunderstorms tonight. Low temperatures will be in the mid-70s at daybreak. For Wednesday, partly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms, highs in the mid-90s. And the outlook for Thursday, mostly sunny with a few scattered thunderstorms and highs in the mid-90s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5. Plans for a new Publix development in Midtown Mobile are moving forward, but not without debate today at Government Plaza. The Midtown movement didn't want the company to put a gas pump on the property. The City Council denied the group's appeal, but made other compromises like extending sidewalks and building a tall fence to block neighboring residential streets. City Councilman Fred Richardson.
It took us a long time, but we pretty much walked through and resolved the major issues that they were concerned about.
Mayor Sandy Stimson has changed his mind. Now he's in favor of a citizen advisory council, but he wants members to go through the police department's Citizens Academy and not serve as an oversight committee. The former chaplain for the Pritchard Police Department is running for mayor of Pritchard. Patrick Munnerlin made the announcement today. For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at RE/MAX Partners, 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Go ahead. Make my day.
All right, welcome to Armed Alabama. Thank you for joining us. We're going to go straight to our caller,
Cecil, and Cecil's going to make our day. How you doing, Cecil?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Now, I'm not making fun of you because I think if you're who I think you are, I like the heck out of you. Do you remember, though, back years ago, Cecil the Sea Serpent?
Thanks. I needed more of that.
It was a cartoon, but I also had the stuffed animal, which I still have. Although the dog really took its toll on Cecil, I tell you. He chewed the thing halfway up. So, Cecil, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, the last bit of conversation before y'all went to the news, I don't think it's so much a race because I think it comes down to grooming and dress. I mean, if you're going to dress intimidating or thuggish, which goes for all races, we all do it, people are going to feel uncomfortable around you, you know?
You know, you've got a good point. I was shooting one time, and there's no way to describe it other than it looked like motorcycle gang members. I mean, tattoos. I mean, white guys. They just looked like thugs. I was about ready to tell the owner to tell them to get out of there. And I shouldn't say this considering what's going on. Then I heard one of them say, he started the police academy Monday. So that was great. But, yeah, I think you're right. Not that you have to dress professionally, but there's a certain dress. You know, you shouldn't wear short pants. You certainly shouldn't wear, you know, the short pants that, you know, are baggy. But that's for safety. And you need to wear a shirt because I've had it happen. You probably have too, where hot brass will pop down your shirt. You know, there's certain ways to dress. And I think you're exactly right. And no obscene or no T-shirts that say, you know, have profane words on it. That's a real good point.
And you know me, Judge, I'll burn powder with anybody out there.
You're exactly right. Just give us a chance to. Thank you, Cecil.
Y'all have a fantastic day.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead to the next caller, Steve from Fairhope, Alabama. Glad you could join us.
Hey, Judge, I was going to tell you I had a tight situation one time. I had a 1911 on me, and I had an armed guy come on the property with a confrontation. I actually had to deploy or actually put the weapon on him, told him to put his little .32 caliber in his pocket and leave. And he did so, fortunately. But when I went to relax, I actually dropped the gun, and in not thinking about it, reached out to grab it, discharged the gun into the front of a car.
Whoa. Whoa.
Ever since then, I've carried. Well, I'll carry it around in the chamber, but I will. If I pull it, I will arm it as I pull it. I don't. That kind of got the best of me. It's like Masuba Yad used to tell us, stress makes a different person out of you.
There's something about 1911s, but I bet you did some. Did you say you grabbed it and it went off when it was falling?
Yes, I grabbed it. I didn't actually. This is what was weird. I didn't retain it when I grabbed it, but it discharged when I grabbed for it. I actually must have hit the trigger.
Yeah,
and exactly. I shot the front of a Toyota and took out the power steering pump, which is
wow,
much better than shooting yourself.
I've watched films of the same thing. Just like I say, they bother me anyway. But just let them hit the ground. Now I still wouldn't doubt that a 1911 would go off, but because it's just that cocked, hammer there, but.
It was just the thought of that thing going off when it hit the ground that made me grab for it, I think. When you're stressed, you really don't think that clearly, and it takes a lot
to
overcome. I don't think I would have done that ever again. If I ever went to drop it again, I'm just going to drop it and hope for the best. I'm not going to...
Well, that's right. And even a 1911, I'm sure wouldn't go off. I mean, assuming it's a newer and not a World War II vintage. Because they make them not to. But still, with the 1911, that's one of those things. I understand the science, but like I understand the science of an elevator, but it still doesn't make, there's something instinctively that frightens me about that.
Yeah, well, this was actually a World War II gun that had been rehashed, accurized, and all that good stuff. Yeah. So, I said, that's why I don't carry around in the chamber.
I bet it's beautiful, though. The danger is, like I've said, is, if these things never go down like you think they're going to go down. Somebody jumps on your back and is trying to strangle you, with a
Well, I actually
rope.
had somebody reach through the car window one day near Government Plaza, sitting at a red light, and this guy, actually there were two of them, they pulled these little black hoodie things over them. I'm looking at one guy, and while I'm looking at him on my right, the guy reaches through the car window, starts choking me.
Good
and
grief.
Fortunately, I had a .22 pistol in the center console, which is probably not a good place to keep it, that I had meant to take out of the car, and that kind of changed their minds about things. So
wow.
You're exactly right. I didn't have but a split second, because somebody can choke you out. If you've never been choked, it doesn't take long for you to start losing it.
It's funny. You've mentioned two cases where just producing a handgun ended the situation. And
I actually stuck it in the guy's mouth. I mean, and his buddy decided better. When this guy let go, his buddy was coming from the other side, and I just held it out. I had a firm grip on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were going to carjack me, rob me. I don't know. But when they pulled those masks over their head, I knew nothing good was fixing to happen.
But you had two cases where you produce your handgun but didn't have to fire.
Yeah, and that's really the best case scenario as far as I'm concerned. It is,
and that happens a lot too. You don't want to count on it, but it happens an awful lot.
Well, I don't think they really thought I was armed. I mean, I was on my way to Fairhope for supper that night, and I was going to have a really good evening, and I still had a pretty good evening, but it took a little while to kind of get over the...
frankly, it'd take a lot of whiskey for me to get over that one.
Well, y'all have a great evening. I just wanted to share that.
Just a moment,
Steve.
Steve.
Gun and grabbing it and discharging it.
Just a moment,
That's the only
Steve.
time that's ever happened to me in my life, and I hope it never happens again.
Steve, hold on. Adam wants to say something.
Hey, I got a question for you, Steve. You still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Okay. Each of those times you just described, after the initial event, did either of those times that you call and report that to the local police?
I did. I made a report. Actually, I did something really stupid. I drove through the tunnel, and I actually had a cell phone back then. This has been a couple of decades ago. I was one of the first people I knew that had a cell phone, and I actually called 911 and made a report of what the victims looked like, or the victims, the perps looked like. And then I got chewed out by a friend of mine, a black lady. She said, "You should have shot him." I'm like, "No, I disarmed the situation."
You got to fill out too many forms after you shoot somebody. But no,
I don't know. You can't shoot people when they decide to run.
Well, and the other thing is, for the audience, and I think you know why, is because they're probably out doing that to other people.
Yes.
And you need to describe them and cooperate because
Well, I
they
got a
need to
little
be
bit of a
caught.
look at them. They were together before, and one of them went to the right of my car, one on the left. I'm stopped at the red light, and they had the little, I don't know what you call them, little ski caps or whatever. But when they pulled those ski caps down, I mean, instantly, I was just like, and I had meant to take the firearm out of my car. Don't ask me why I didn't do it.
Wow.
Maybe it was supposed to be there. It was just a little 22, 7-shot 22, but it was all I needed.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
it was a pistol.
22.
It wasn't an automatic.
Right,
but
right.
It
But
got
that
the
was
message
enough.
across.
Yeah. But, yeah, for the audience, you hear the story, you need to report it because they may report you. I bet you they have a record as long as my arm, and I've got long arms. So I doubt they're going to
report. This wasn't their first
report.
rodeo. Anybody that'll go out in the summer, this was about this time of year with ski mask on the top of their head rolled up to the hat.
Right.
They planned on this. And
They're
there were
up
two
to
of
something.
them.
But, yeah,
Like
they
that,
need to
I
be
don't know what
caught.
their motive was. I really don't. It was an old 280Z Datsun. I can't imagine they wanted to steal the car, but you never know.
That's right.
It was something bad. You don't cover a ski mask over your face to sell Girl Scout cookies. There was something bad fixing to go down.
Well, thank you very much,
Great
Steve,
call.
for calling
Thank you.
in. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
All right, next caller, James. James from Alberta.
How you doing?
Hey,
All
fine,
right,
James.
thank you for calling.
Yes, the way I was taught, I'm 61. My granddad taught me to carry a pistol. I started when I was 13 with a 22 and rat shot. And the open chamber deal, do I still have you?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Okay,
you
the
act
open
like you're
chamber-
so old. You're 3 years older than me, so don't start all that stuff.
Well, yeah, well, none of us are buried yet.
I know.
But the open chamber deal in the beginning was because guns were not designed safely.
That's
the way
correct.
it was. And then in later days, as improvement in technology came, the open chamber was a safety precaution for the event of children in the house. And I was raised in a house with a loaded weapon in every corner and 2 pistols at least under my granddad's bed.
Right.
And I've only dropped one. I didn't try to catch it. It was model 55 Smith & Wesson.
Mm-hmm.
It landed on the hammer and did not discharge, so it's all good. But continuing on with that, if you're just carrying it day by day, I would carry empty chamber. If you move, because it's better for the weapon. The springs aren't loaded and all that thing, you know. But if you're moving into an area where you have concerns, go ahead and make it able and prep it and
But you
make
know,
it safe.
if you were able to know where you had concerns, you just avoid that area.
Exactly.
Well, it's hard to avoid an entire town.
Right. That's kind of my point. You know, there are no springs when, for instance, I've got a Beretta M9. What I do is I rack the slide and decock it. So there's no stress on anything. It's just a long trigger pull the first time. So it's not putting any stress on it. I think it was in 70 when they started the drop test on the firearms, and we don't want the government involved in anything. I think it was voluntary, but I saw a report then that's when they started the drop testing, and where all the firearms pretty much came up to standard. There's some that I wouldn't trust, but most of the name brand, the top sellers, they're just not going to go off. And like I say, my big concern is that somebody, like the man just told us, somebody grabs a hold of you, and you're in actually a wrestling match with them, and then there's just no way to rack your slide. But I can understand how you picked up that habit. Sure can.
It was the old day talk.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
And so far, what I'm seeing now and into the future, the old days haven't been that wrong.
On some things. We got to step into a break.
Right.
Thank you for calling, sir.
Thank you, James.
Appreciate it.
Y'all have a good day. My first time for your show.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you for
listen
listening.
next week and the rest of the night, too.
You are on my call saver, so I'll be listening.
All right, thank you, James. So you get different perspective there, whether or not it, carried around in the chamber or not carried around in the chamber. But the judge and I, we definitely recommend you carrying around in the chamber new modern firearms, modern engineering, modern manufacturing. You can carry those rounds in the chamber, even if the weapon is dropped. The likelihood of the firearm going off is just 0 to 9.
And I'm an old-fashioned kind of person too, believe me. But we'll talk about it after a break here on Armed Alabama.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on your chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. Here's Johnny.
We always say you shouldn't shoot through a door. That case, that woman should have shot through that door because the minute Jack Nicholson got through, he was going to kill her. So that's one of the examples that we use in our class. Not shooting through a door, that's because of threat identification. There's no law. We say that, gosh, what if you shot through a door and there was a policeman? But if somebody chopping through a door is going to be on you in a second or two, that your life is in immediate danger. And if somebody like him is chopping through the door and you're in a one-room shack, your life's in immediate danger. But that was The Shining, of course, when Jack Nicholson kind of went crazy from being cooped up in the snow village or whatever it was. But back
in Esther, Colorado.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Wow.
But
actually been there. I
think it was filmed somewhere in Canada, of course. Yeah. But if you've got an opinion on carrying one in the chamber, I've actually got a film of about 40 instances of their closed circuit films where there are robberies and things like that, where people are trying to rack a slide and they're shot or in a fight or whatever with someone who got the jump on them.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the next caller. Jay from Saraland. Glad you could call in tonight, Jay.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed your show. I've got a couple of questions if you've got the patience.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm in my 70s, and I've carried a gun since I was in my 20s. I never really felt like the government had a right to tell me whether I could obey the Second Amendment or not. So I never got a permit. Now, I know I've taken a chance of getting caught with it, but I never have. It's been over 50 years I've carried one, and I just wondered, how hard is it to get one? Don't you have to have a real good reason for it or something,
sir.
Like you carry a lot of money? I don't have that kind of reason.
The law changed in 2013. You don't have to have any reason whatsoever. And as long as you don't have a felony conviction or a conviction for a domestic violence charge, whether it's a felony or misdemeanor, that's it. It costs you $20 a year.
And it's very easy. Yeah. $20, 20 minutes, go in and, you come out with a permit.
And I'd say it could be 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the rub. I do have a felony from when I was in my 20s. And like I said, I'm in my 70s now. I've never gotten even a ticket since then.
Yeah.
But I just wondered if that throw a wrench in the whole thing.
Yeah, and the problem is they made a law that retroactively makes it illegal for you to own a firearm, possess a firearm.
I have a full federal pardon.
When did you receive that?
1972.
Okay, you're fine. All right, you should not have a problem getting a permit. The only rub would be
it was not a violent crime.
Yeah.
It was a paper crime.
Oh, they don't care. When they passed that law, it didn't matter whether it was you were writing bad checks.
Yeah. No.
Do you have a copy of that?
I bought a car that turned out to belong to somebody else, but I didn't know it at the time. So.
Do you have a copy of that pardon?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. I keep that locked in my safe.
Good.
That's very important.
I would take that with me. And I don't think you're going to have a problem at all.
Oh, great. Well, my other question is this. I've got that's the reason I can have guns and I can buy them. I've got a VIN number where when I go in and buy a weapon, I just give them that VIN number and it goes right through the federal check.
Then that makes it clear to me. And one thing the permit does is you can carry your firearm and with your license from Alabama in something like 40 other states.
Okay, great.
So it's cheap.
I'm going to do that then.
Yeah.
And I have one more question for you. I don't want to take up all your time, but I've got about 200 guns. I got about 4 safes that I keep guns in.
Some places you're just getting started.
60 years. And I keep all the ammunition in a separate safe, a fireproof safe, except for the personal gun I carry.
Yeah.
How long can I keep that ammunition?
Almost forever. And I'll tell you a secret. The enemy of ammunition is moisture and heat. And you don't really need to keep it in a safe because it needs to be like in a gun chamber. It's not going to blow up if there's a fire. It'll pop. But if you really want to keep it a long time, get one of these food sealers, like people seal up
vacuum sealer.
Yeah, get a vacuum sealer and seal the ammunition in there. And then I like these plastic ammo cans and put it in a plastic ammo can and throw a couple of those, I can't ever pronounce what, desiccant.
Now, this safe I keep the ammunition in does have dehydrator in it.
But with what I'm telling you, you don't have to waste the spot in your safe. You can once you seal it in that food sealer.
Seal it up.
Yeah, they sell a plastic that's 3 mils thick. It's pretty thick, and do it in that, and put 2 or 3, 4 boxes at a time in one. Seal it up, and then just when you get enough, fill a ammo case or something like that with it, and then you don't. This is going extra, believe me. But throw 2 or 3 of those desiccant packs in there. The like that you've got one you're safe, but they make them that look like sugar packs. Throw a couple in there and seal it. But right on the outside, hey, they're 500 rounds of 9mm in there, so you won't get confused.
Yes, sir. Oh, well, thank you so much.
But it will last almost forever.
That's why I love listening to your show.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you calling in. We got a lot of callers backed up, so we're going to hit a few of them real quick. So, Patrick, welcome to Armed Alabama. Patrick, you're calling from Mobile.
Yes, sir.
What you
I'm
got?
Disabled. My spine is broken 2 places. One of them being my broken neck.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it as a retirement plan.
Oh, no.
And just by the grace of Jesus, I'm not paralyzed from my neck. I have excruciating pain you wouldn't want to believe.
Well, we're also physicians here, so we'll give you...
Well, then you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The thing is, there is no place in the city of Mobile that a disabled person an elderly person, which I am now both, can go to shoot a firearm.
Are you in a wheelchair?
No, I
Okay.
was. The good Lord Jesus gave me back my lower half, and I can now walk, be it not that great. I mean, I can go everywhere my walker goes.
I would think down at Gunport would be.
Well, I can't go out of town.
No, it's just down in Code Inn.
To me, that's out of town.
Okay, but I think a person with a wheelchair could go there. I'm just mentally trying to think through, because there are not a lot of gun ranges here.
Well, there used to be one out there by that Pompey Airport we have out there.
Yeah.
In fact, I used to shoot there. It was called Bloody Ridge.
Yeah.
Are you old enough for that?
I remember it, but when the airport and dump moved, it closed.
Actually, it was a Mobile police lieutenant that closed it.
Yeah.
I know. I'm related to him.
Yeah.
So he had it closed because it was not safe.
Let us think about it during the show and keep listening, and we'll if we can find one that can accommodate you, we're going to announce it. All right.
All right. Now on the loaded or not loaded on a 1911 A1, you lock it and you cock it.
Oh, I know, and I know it's safe.
It's safe, and you train yourself how to unlock the weapon when you believe you're going to need it, and you have no problem. And on the age of ammunition, I have two 50-round boxes of 45-70 that was repacked in 1905.
And it's probably still good, isn't it?
5-grain bullet. And they're just as good today as the day I bought them for $5 a box.
Wow. That's great.
Because that was back in the late 60s.
Yeah, that's great.
So I still have that. I had to get rid of a lot of stuff I own because I can't handle it.
Right. We got to slide into a break, but keep listening, and we're going to try to find you a place. All right?
Thank you so much.
Good to talk to you. Well, I have actually thought about that issue before and hadn't followed up on it. What would somebody with a disabled person or somebody with disabilities, because they're certainly allowed to shoot, encouraged to shoot, but where would they shoot around here? And we'll check in. We're nearing the top of the hour, and we want any gun question you have, we want you to call it in, 343-0106. We'll be back the second hour in about 8 minutes.
And I wonder just how long the rest of us can count on being free. They love our milk and honey, but they preach about some other way of living. And when they're running down our country, man, they're walking on the fighting side of me.
FM Talk 1065. The safety is off. There's a round in the chamber. This is Armed Alabama. Sponsored by McCoy Outdoor Company, Mobile's hometown full-line outdoor sporting products and gear store. An interactive talk show discussing self-defense, product reviews, shooting tips, safety, and more. Your calls, comments, and texts welcome at 343-0106. Now, here are your hosts, retired judge and certified NRA instructor Rusty Johnston and certified NRA law enforcement instructor Adam Strange.
They're gonna pry these guns right out of my hands when they come to take them away. I believe in the rights that my fathers gave me when he signed the Constitution that day. No misguided president or crooked politician with a greasy pocket be spared. When the hard-working man gets tired of your cry, it's gonna rain wrath, beware. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. You're not gonna take it away. I stand up to fight for my freedoms and rights. That's the price you'll have to pay. Don't tread on me, I'm American free. Red-blooded to the core. You ain't ever had a fight in your life like the fight that you're itching for.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. That's kind of become our theme song. That is Buck Allen. Be sure and check out Buck Allen Facebook page. It's Buck Allen, singer-songwriter. Check him out on Facebook. Let him know how much you like the song, and we're thankful that he's allowed us to use that song. But if you're just now tuning in, we've had a great show, full show already. Got a good friend of mine here that's joining us in the studio. Glenn, you have some really good perspective or interesting perspectives from your view as an African American. You talked earlier tonight about going to the range, shooting. I think in previous shows we've had callers talking about, black people can't go to the range, black people can't carry firearms on their car or on their persons, and you kind of talked about how you kind of dispelled that myth by saying you've never felt threatened or anything else like that. Can you go on and talk about that and talk about, this narrative out there, and also Black Lives Matter and that organization and how they're putting forth this false narrative that black people are under attack by the police?
Yeah, sure, certainly. Before I go into that, let me, I guess, give a little bit more background on myself and my background, who I am, my personal experience, and I think this will show us. I'm about to open Pandora's box here, and I'm not a big fan of Black Lives Matter. And I'll tell you why.
We kind of opened it last week, so no problem.
So a little bit more about myself. I guess I'm a Roman Catholic black man of mixed ancestry. I was not born here in the States. I was actually born in Castries, St. Lucia, British West Indies.
I got to interrupt you.
Sure.
In 1986, I went to St. Lucia on my honeymoon because I found it on the hurricane tracking map. And since then, of course, it's become a big boom, but I went Marigot Bay, and they had this really rustic rustic, like not only no screens in the windows, there wasn't glass in the windows, but so beautiful. It was incredible. And on the south end of the island, there was an old closed-down military base where we landed. But and I'm going to think of the name. I want to say the Green Parrot was a restaurant up at Castries. And I'll tell you, I've never had service that good in my life. Really, really something. But I've looked at it recently, and it looks like the tourists have ruined it.
Well, actually, I have not been back to St. Lucia since I was born. That was 44 years ago.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but as I was saying before, again, back to my personal life experience. I was born in St. Lucia, not born here in the States. I lived in Puerto Rico for a few years. When I was 5 years old, my parents and I came here to the States. Went to a different public and private schools, Catholic schools. In high school, my high school was quite unique in which there were only 5 black students in the entire school. There was a total of 800 students, but I was the only black man in my class, senior class, 1989. I had my friend in the junior class, one guy.
So
and
you
then
must have been picked on all the time, called names, abused.
Actually, I was.
Yeah.
Actually, I was picked on, but
Yeah.
not for racial reasons.
I was picked on because I had red hair. Seriously.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Back in those days, strangers would come up and rub your hair for good luck. I mean, it was a very strange thing. Charlie remembers that. It was very weird.
But yeah, I was picked on. Back to the point, I was picked on, but not for racial reasons. I didn't feel like I was picked on because of my color of my skin. I was picked on because I was a nerd. I had very good grades in school. I was always on the either honor roll or high honor roll. My GPA was above a 4 point. Junior year, I had a 4.04. So I was, academically, I was just a nerd. That's why I didn't fit in anybody's niche. You had the rockers, you had the druggies, you had the cool people, the jocks, the band geeks. I didn't fit in any of those circles. My wife calls me, you are a mathlete, because I was in those academic decathlon. But anyways, so I was a nerd, the proverbial nerd. But, during this time, I didn't let color of my skin stop me while I was in high school. I mean, I excelled in my in academics. I was president of student council. I was president of my class. I was junior year. I was vice president of student council. I was vice president of my class junior year. My school chose me to go to Ohio Buckeye Boys State, which is an incredible honor to go, because your schools recognize you for your leadership. Okay, again, the only black guy in my class, and they choose me. I graduated valedictorian of my class, number one.
Wow.
So I mean, again, I didn't let color of my skin stop me from doing anything. So my perspective on race is a little bit different from most people. Now, of course, have I been called the N-word? Of course I have. But anyways,
You've probably never had anybody say, "I'd rather be dead than red on the head."
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah,
I'm serious.
But as this is kind of leading to a point here, is what I'm saying is that I have to this point lived the American dream. You can do what you want in America if you work hard. And going now, I'm going to open Pandora's box here. I'm not a big fan of Black Lives Matter. The reason why is because I don't need a group to tell me that my life matters. I know my life matters. You don't need to tell me that. Okay? And when you look at their website, I looked at their website before and look at the demographics that they represent. They don't represent all Black lives. And, we have a few here, Planned Parenthoods, abortion clinics here in the neighborhood. And, since 1973, Roe versus Wade, over 14 million black babies have been aborted in this country. I don't see Black Lives Matter protesting in front of abortion clinics, okay? I got a big problem with that. I got a huge problem with that, okay? The other thing I'm also concerned about, too, and of course you have the arguments, well, why are you mentioning that for, is the 93% of blacks that are killed by other blacks. If you are truly Black Lives Matter, you address all black lives, not just the ones that are somehow killed by policemen, okay? That's my thing on Black Lives Matter. And I'm not the only black man in America that's thinking this way. You have Sheriff David Clark that is against Black Lives Matter. There's a group called Black Lives Matter, okay, that rail against Black Lives Matter. You have to look at the ideology of this group. The ideology of this group is very dangerous. The women that started this group, if you look at their true ideology,
it's kind of a
it's questionable.
Marxist socialist.
Yes.
More of a Marxist. Really.
Yeah, you have to really look at it and look at their message, what they're saying. And now with the what's going on with the police shootings here, let me just say this, and this will best explain it. Let's do it before I got my concealed carry license this year, in February this year. And prior to that, when I get stopped by the police, okay, of course, there's that initial nervousness. Oh, no, you see the blue and red behind you? What did I do? So you pull over, and that you have that nervous tinge. And I wasn't nervous because of the fact I was afraid that the police might come out with a gun and shoot me. I was just more nervous the fact that, oh boy, I'm gonna have a big ticket in my hands here, and I'm gonna have to pay it.
Glenn,
and I'm
we
gonna have to go to court.
need to step into a break, and then we'll continue. No, that's all right. We'll continue with your tale right after the break. This is Armed Alabama, and remember to call in and text in with your questions.
Am I going a little bit too much?
If your spine is in a bind, it's time to be aligned. For 20 years, Dr. Justin Foster has been diagnosing and taking care of spinal problems. Misaligned vertebrae can hurt due to a strain or sprain from an accident, or be injured by repeated use and can lead to a pinched nerve if not fixed. Pinched nerves can cause a series of discomforts, including decreased flexibility, headaches, muscle, joint, disc, and nerve pain. Foster Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, easy to find across from Lowe's off Rangeline.
We were told that when we had a president, we'd see a giant global political figure, the man that would be the political leader for 500 million people, the man that would represent all of us on the world stage, the man whose job was so important that, of course, you're paid more than President Obama. Well, I'm afraid what we got was you. And I'm sorry, but after that performance earlier that you gave, and I don't want to be rude, but you know, really, you have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk.
Well, I like guns, I like the way they look, I like the shiny steel and the polished wood. I don't care if they're big or small, if they're for sale, hell, I want them all. I like guns, I like guns, I like guns.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I'm a friend of Sarah Connor. I was told that she's here. Could I see her, please?
No, can't see her. She's making a statement.
Where is she?
Look, it may take a while. If you want to wait, there's a bench over there.
I'll be back.
And we're back here on Armed Alabama.
It's not a tumor. It's not a tumor at all.
Exactly. But he did not have the 40-watt phase plasma rifle in that edition. That was the original Terminator, which McCoy's, I understand, they're not getting them back. So you'll have to look for other sources. They've asked me to tell you all, stop calling them about those guns because it's just tying up their phone lines. But for all of your other firearms and sporting needs, visit Mobile's hometown sporting store. That's McCoy's. They're located in Spring Hill Plaza. That's at 3498 Spring Hill Avenue in Mobile, just west of I-65. They have pistols, rifles, shotguns, the whole gamut, ammunition, everything you need for concealed carry. They've got good holsters there. You don't have to go out to the flea market and wait around through the chickens and dogs and stolen goods. You can go down there and there'll be a holster that fits your gun. And that's very, very important to make sure that during this shooting over the weekend downtown, I don't know if y'all heard about it, nobody was shot, but they found the holster in the street, which means when whoever drew his sidearm, the holster came out and went on the ground. And that could be fatal if you were ever attacked. Your holster's got to stay where it is, and you got to be able to draw your gun out real fast. And if you have one that doesn't fit, but they can fit the right holster for you, they're nice people, nice air conditioning there at this time, and they've got, if they don't have it, they'll get it, but they've probably got it. So visit McCoy's. They're one of our good sponsors to the show. And you can visit them on their Facebook page and also on the web. That's McCoy's Outdoor at Spring Hill Avenue in the Spring Hill Avenue Plaza where the old K&B used to be.
All right, we are going to go ahead and go to our next caller. He's been hanging on for a long time. Ray, calling from Mobile. Welcome to Armed Alabama.
Good evening.
Thank you for hanging with us.
I just wanted to make a comment on the whether you should carry a handgun with a round chambered or not chambered. It's just my personal opinion, but opinions are like politics. Everybody's got one.
Right.
I think that if you are presented with a situation that is dire, you need to have a round in the chamber. And what I'm thinking here is that with today's technology, with weapons, handguns in particular, it's just my opinion that double action only is the way to go. A hammerless pistol that has a smooth trigger stroke on it. They are inherently safe guns.
You're talking about striker fired, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Like Springfield XD.
It's not going to go off.
That.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. That's what I carry is a Springfield. And but beyond that, if there's, a lot of times programs like this, you're preaching to the choir. Beyond that, there may be some people listening to this program that's thinking about getting a gun and for the first time, and I would stress to these people that if you decide to do that, please get somebody that knows something about guns to help you decide what you need, and if need be, go with you to a range and get you familiar with that weapon.
You shouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah, you shouldn't be afraid of it.
Exactly. I mean, if you're not comfortable with it, then it's going to be more of a danger to you than protecting you. So,
I think you're actually the first person this call that said agreed with us.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we're preaching to the choir.
Well,
so I thank you.
You may not be, but I just I've been to gun ranges and I've seen people on the firing line. It was obvious they didn't know what they were doing with the handgun, and didn't have anybody there with them to try to help them. And that's not good.
Right.
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate your phone call. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And Ray makes a good point. If you're not comfortable with your firearm, definitely go and get training somewhere.
There's no stupid question. Everybody. I finally, 15 years ago, decided, that's when I was handling the court police, said, I got the trainer there, and I said, listen, even though I have an ego, I'm going to drop it for a while and let you really teach me how to shoot. And it was amazing how much better I got.
Absolutely. That's how you get better. You have to
exactly.
Get trained. You have to get that education, and then you have to utilize that education and that training and practice.
Imagine if somebody never taught you how to drive, and then you drove once a year, like at Christmas around the mall. You would be a terrible driver.
So if you're just now joining us, you know that our topic tonight is carrying a firearm without a round in the chamber, but also is all-out war on cops, and this inspired militant groups such as the New Black Panthers or other organizations. The narrative had been put forward that black people can't carry a firearm on their persons or in their car, or they'll be shot down in the street or shot by police. We see, Judge, you and I, we see black men carrying firearms all the time, and these guys are undercover or plainclothes police officers.
Right.
So if that narrative was so, these individuals will be shot down all over the United States because you have plainclothes police officers.
I hired a black police chief for the court police. Great guy. I hate he retired.
Right. To use that narrative to say that black men can't carry firearms is a false narrative.
Well, I think what was trying to be put forward is Castile, and was he Minnesota, that he was a simple concealed carrier who was mistaken for a criminal and shot down. And the fact is that there was Ebola out. Be on the lookout for someone matching his description. And it apparently, that's why he was pulled over. matching his description for an armed robbery that had taken place less than 12 hours before.
That's right. Glenn, you made a good point to me today about that situation.
Yeah.
You want to share that?
This is a good segue here, Judge. Actually, one of the things I've been really wondering, asking the question is, again, the narrative is that Philando Castile had a concealed carry permit on his person for the state of Minnesota.
And, have you ever seen it? Because I haven't. And I'm not so sure he did.
And that's exactly my point. And that's, again, good points here. And, right now, I'm holding in my hand a copy. This was on Fox 9 News on their website. The family of the Castile family actually sent this letter in. And I'm going to read it verbatim.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read it verbatim for your audience here. This is from the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, Richard W. Stanek, Sheriff. This is dated June 4th, 2015, so just over a year ago. To Mr. Philando D. Castile, Robbinsdale, Minnesota. Dear Mr. Castile, enclosed, this is the key part here. Enclosed, please find your permit to carry. This letter here is not your permit. This is just a letter telling you that there's a permit in the envelope that it came in that's there. This is not the actual permit.
Right.
As a permit holder, you have the permit card and a driver's license, state ID card, or other government-issued photo ID in immediate possession at all times when carrying a pistol. And you must display the permit card and ID upon lawful demand by a peace officer. Okay? And it goes on. All right, so my question is, where is the permit?
He was issued one, we know, at one time.
At one time.
But, was it revoked? We don't know.
Well, in that, again, another great segue here. In this same sheet, there's a notice of revocation. Your permit shall be void at the time you become prohibited from possession of a pistol under Minnesota statutes, in which event you must immediately return the permit to the issuing sheriff's office. Now, the question is, again, where is the permit? The family produced the letter, but why didn't they produce the permit? Because I'm assuming that at some point in time, you would actually receive the contents of Philando Castile back to the family. Right. Now, I know for myself, I carry my permit right behind my driver's license in my wallet.
As do I. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, so that when if a cop stops me, I can pull out both at the same time if I need to. Right. Again, where is the permit? The narrative is that he had a concealed carry permit. Okay, show me the permit.
Right.
Don't show me the letter. Show me the permit.
And when someone's killed, what normally happens is you at some point, days later, you pick up their belongings. And because he's dead, there's not going to, you would pick up his wallet, his wedding ring, or, whatever. They may hold his clothes for evidence, but they're not going to hold his wallet. So, great point.
So, but yeah, that was, I was going to get to that later, but since you segued into it, that was a great way to go into that. Now, back to the police stopping. As I mentioned before, prior to my getting my concealed carry permit, when I would get pulled over by the police for a traffic violation, you go through the routine of where, okay, I assume at all times that the officer coming to me may have a bad day. Okay, so I go through the motions, put my hands at 10-2 on the steering wheel, make sure make no sudden movements, make sure that my registration is available, my insurance card is available. So all I have to do, I don't have to go searching for it. All I got to do is pull it out when he asks for it, and you hand it to him. Now, post permit, I'm even more careful now, especially now with what happened in Minnesota. Again, if
all right, we will have to catch that right after this break. Thank you, Glenn. We'll catch us in a few minutes. This is Armed Alabama.
When you're running down our country, man, you're walking on the fighting side of me. You're walking on the fighting side of me. Running down.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority, and Dr. Bill Williams.
Look for a few evening thunderstorms tonight. Low temperatures will be in the mid-70s at daybreak. For Wednesday, partly cloudy with scattered thunderstorms, highs in the mid-90s. And the outlook for Thursday, mostly sunny with a few scattered thunderstorms and highs in the mid-90s. This is meteorologist Dr. Bill Williams for FM Talk 106.5.
FM Talk 106.5, the Gulf Coast Weather Authority.
For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5. Plans for new Publix development in Midtown Mobile are moving forward, but not without debate today at Government Plaza. The Midtown movement didn't want the company to put a gas pump on the property. The City Council denied the group's appeal, but made other compromises like extending sidewalks and building a tall fence to block neighboring residential streets. City Councilman Fred Richardson.
It took us a long time, but we pretty much walked through and resolved the major issues that they were concerned about.
Mayor Sandy Stimson has changed his mind. Now he's in favor of a citizen advisory council, but he wants members to go through the police department's Citizens Academy and not serve as an oversight committee. The former chaplain for the Pritchard Police Department is running for mayor of Pritchard. Patrick Munnerlin made the announcement today. For FM Talk 106.5, I'm Roseanne Haven, News 5.
Looking for land, commercial space, or a home to purchase? Or do you have real estate that you would like to sell? Then you need to talk with Mamoon Siddiq at REMAX Partners 7221 Grelot Road, Suite B. Mamoon is dedicated to providing his clients trustworthy real estate expertise and professional, dependable service. Whether buying or selling your primary residence or a second home, or relocating to a new neighborhood, Mamoon can help make your home ownership dreams come true. Email Mamoon at remax.net. That's MAMUN at remax.net.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. You forgot to say please.
All right, welcome back to Armed Alabama. I don't know if they were laughing at you or laughing at me.
They were laughing at him, but I think he grabbed one of the hoods, got a cigar, and just smashed it right into his android skin, and then I think he broke one of them's elbows.
Yeah, of course that didn't bother him because he's a Terminator.
And he threw one of them on a griddle right after that. So,
all right, we've got a good friend of mine, Glenn, with us tonight, and Glenn has given his perspective as an African-American male and what it's like to maybe be pulled over, go to the range, and also your perspective on Black Lives Matter, and also this all-out war on cops, if you will. Glenn, if you will, just go ahead and pick up where you left off.
Yeah. So, again, now that I have my concealed carry permit, just to continue where I left off, I go through a very rigorous procedure, and this is something that was my instructor told me in my concealed carry class to do the same thing. Make sure you have all your information out, ready to go. No sudden movements. When you have your documents out, make sure your hands are 10-2. At nighttime, if it's a night stop, make sure you turn your interior lights on so the cop can see you inside your car, so he can see where your hands are. It's very simple. And the most important thing, be nice. Be polite.
Amen.
Be polite, because the cop might have had a bad day. There's no sense to barking at the cop. So just make sure, it's just common sense things here, people, to make sure that you arrive safe and sound at home and don't wind up dead.
And there's so many people that start off by saying, "What the hell did you stop me for? What law have I violated?" And it's just amazing, by the side of the road isn't the place to decide those things.
That's
it's
right.
In a courtroom.
Yeah, that's right. Now,
Glenn, there's somebody that I want you kind of here for, and it's Joe. And Joe would probably disagree with you 1,000%. So let's take Joe's call.
How you doing there, sir?
Hey, Joe, is this Joe Abdullah?
This is Joe Abdullah.
All right, great. Joe, what do you have to say about all this?
Well, I'm not going to prejudge no one, but anyway, what I like to say is this. He trying to say that I didn't have a permit, a pistol permit, so forth. But that's still no reason for the guy to end up dead.
Well, there's no reason
for... He didn't have a pistol permit. He had applied for one, but he hadn't received the permit yet. He had the paperwork back. Like you said, the sheriff had sent in the paperwork, said everything been in process, and you will be receiving your permit pretty soon.
Well,
now, but that's still no excuse for the guy to end up dead. I'm gonna ask one more question, then I'm gonna get on off the phone.
Let me ask you one though.
Can I take this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me take this. Well, number one, I'm assuming you're assuming you're talking about Philando Castile, correct?
Yes.
Caller. Yes. All right. Well, here's my perspective on this. Number one, you've been told a narrative. The problem is the video you only see is after he is shot. Okay, you don't see any sort of video before he is shot. You don't know what occurred before he is shot. Okay.
Do you know?
I don't know, and I'm not making assumptions. The only thing I've asked is where's the permit. That's all I've asked for, sir. That's all I've asked for is where's the permit. Show me the permit to go along with your narrative. That's all.
Show me he didn't have a permit. Should he be dead now because he didn't have a permit?
You don't know exactly what happened. He could have reached. He could have reached. Like I mentioned before, when you are working with the police, no sudden movements.
Joe, hold on a minute.
No sudden movements. Because I want
y'all to talk a minute. Let him ask you a question, Joe. I mean, Glenn, ask Joe. Finish up, and then we'll listen to Joe.
Again, what the video that I saw, I'm sure you saw too, is the girlfriend. I believe Diamond. I believe is her name. Is after he is shot. Okay. We don't know what occurred before the video is taken. So we don't know what really happened. We only know what she told us and what she told the news agencies, right?
Yeah, same thing. You know what the police said. Let me ask this question. I'm gonna get off the phone. With the incident in Mobile, we want transparency. What happened to Michael Moore? The first day, the police chief had a news conference. He said they confiscated the gun at the scene. Come to find out, the gun was found later on mysteriously at the hospital. Now, all these other officers around with these cameras or someone coming around taking pictures, the police chief said he's not going to release any of those videos. Well, can he release a still picture showing where the guy had the weapon on his person?
The only question I would have, and I don't like that, but does that mean to you, Joe, that the police planted the gun on him? Is that what you're getting at?
I don't know if they did. If they did, he could release a still photo showing the guy laying on the ground with the weapon still in his waistband because the paramedic came, turned him over, flipped him over, took him to the hospital, and lo and behold, the weapon showed up. For transparency purposes, couldn't it release some of the videos of some of the other officers that came on the scene? I just saw a still
I've got an answer.
Of the
guy problem
with
is
the weapon on the side.
If that officer is indicted and tried, what's happening by releasing all those videos is you're tainting the jury pool. You want a jury pool that's not ignorant, but you don't want the jury pool seeing all the evidence before there's even a trial.
But they tried this young man and brother bring this written up, saying he was this guy, he stole a car, he burglarized all these other things.
But unfortunately he's deceased. He's not going to be tried for anything.
The police is above the law.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you, there was a fatal shooting in, I'm trying to think of the name, in California. This white police officer's a white man, and it looked pretty bad to me. They have never released the name of the officer because the police chief said, I don't want him threatened. They don't even know who the officer was, or two officers. So, people do it different ways, but if the man, Officer Hurst, couldn't think of the name, is ever indicted and tried, you don't want the jury pool, potential jury pool, you, me, whomever, to be tainted by seeing all the evidence without explanation just thrown out there. Because it does have an effect. Then you have to potentially move the case out of Mobile.
May I say something?
Yeah, please.
Back to your caller here, Joe. To your point, my first point is we don't know exactly what happened prior to the girl's video. However, we do know that, and Adam, I think we talked about this before, is the behavior of the police. Not all police are bad. Let's be sure about that. Not every cop is a bad cop. But they are bad apples in the orchard, right? We can say that. And I think we discussed before is that how are these police being trained? And I think that's a key element here. And from the articles that I have read and the stuff that I have studied is there is an issue with how the cops are being trained. The cops today are being trained, not all of them, to have a shoot first mentality in certain situations. Be fearful, be afraid.
And an us against them mentality, which is a military mentality.
That's right. That's right. And where are they getting this training from? They're getting this training from the federal government, from the feds.
Yep.
Okay, these threat fusion centers. And we need to have a serious discussion as a nation on how the police are actually being trained. I think this is really at the heart of the matter here. Okay, it's not a unarmed black man, white cop issue. It's not white versus black. It's some of these cops, I hate to say it, are jackbooted thugs, and some of these cops are hired in to police organizations to be enforcers. That's their job, unfortunately. Okay, now the guy in Minnesota who happened to be on the video, the girlfriend referred to him as a Chinese American. Now we found out that he actually was a Latino. That narrative that it was a white cop shooting a black man, sometimes doesn't hold. And it goes to Baton Rouge too now. Let's go to Baton Rouge for a little bit here. I was going to make this point earlier on. You have this narrative that it's the cops, white cops versus black folk. However, in Baton Rouge, 3 cops were shot. Okay, in Dallas, five white police officers were shot. What's the difference here? In Dallas, you had a situation where Micah X. Johnson had, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here, gentlemen, he had a scope on his equipment, and he was able to pinpoint and shoot specific targets. Whereas in Baton Rouge, it was called, he was shooting indiscriminately, I believe was the terminology, right? All right. And in Baton Rouge, a black officer was shot down. Now, Baton Rouge, for whatever reason, this is my own personal opinion, has not garnered the same news as Dallas. Now, why is this? Is the question. Is it the narrative of us versus them, or in this narrative, a black cop got shot? Well, we can't really use that one.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
that's just not as good.
It's not a good storyline, right?
Yep.
It's not a good story.
You're right, Glenn.
It's not a good story. It doesn't sell the story from and the mainstream media is also part of this. They're helping, in my opinion, the Black Lives Matter movement garner this hatred towards the police. And you know what? Why I really had a bad feeling in my bones Monday. I was really depressed because what I'm really, really worried about. I have a son in Minnesota. He's at an ice hockey camp. And he's 17 years old. He's by himself. I don't want a situation where you might have retaliation from either some crazy lone nut or maybe even a rogue cop. I don't want this to happen. I want an understanding to be garnered between us and the police. Understand what's really going on. What's at the heart of the matter. And I believe what it is. You have a leftist Marxist organization that's trying to start an internal struggle here within America to bring America down.
Yeah, and you're talking Saul Alinsky stuff.
It's all exactly right. His 8 planks, right?
Yep. I think you're right. All right, we're being worried to answer some phone calls.
Yeah, we got a bunch of phone calls here. We'll go ahead and get the first one. Aaron, thank you for calling Armed Alabama.
Hey, how you doing, guys? First time caller, long time listener. How y'all doing this evening?
We're doing great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Just got a quick question. I'll get off the line. Now, I just received my concealed carry pistol permit, and I keep my pistol in my car. I have a 642 Smith & Wesson double action revolver and a 38, and I keep it in my car. Now, whenever I get pulled over, do I automatically have to show my pistol permit and my license automatically, or when that cop asks, do I have anything in the vehicle?
Let me ask you a couple questions. Are you in Alabama?
That is correct.
And you're talking. Unless it's in plain view or it's in a place where you're going to have to access, like to get your insurance papers, etc., then you do not have to show or reveal that you have it. And we recommend not, but you got to make certain you're not going to, because there's still some police officers who think, I'm going to give this guy a hard time because he's carrying. But make certain.
And that kind of makes, that cop on edge, because you're fiddling around with stuff,
Listen off there, and I'll finish on the other side of the break, all right? I'll finish the answer to the question. All right? Thank you for calling.
Ain't no problem.
When buying a vehicle, don't waste your valuable time. David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota is committed to getting you the best deal on a new, used, or leased car. And David will do that without wasting your time. Don't play the back and forth game. See David Parnell today. Palmer's Toyota, 470 Schillinger Road South. That's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, 639-0800, extension 168. Don't forget to see David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Schillinger Road, just south of Airport. He won't waste your time. Longleaf pine is the South's original pine tree, towering over all others. Vast clear-cutting logging operations in the first half of the last century destroyed these beautiful longleaf forests, some well over 100 years old. Their wood sent to New England, New York, and Europe. Many Southerners have no memory of the magnificent longleaf forests that covered the South. The America's Longleaf Restoration Initiative is a concerted effort to restore and conserve longleaf pine forests. The best part is, it's working. For more info, visit americaslongleaf.org.
Step up to the firing line. Armed Alabama is back. Questions, comments, and texts at 343-0106.
Go ahead. Make my day.
All right. Welcome to Armed Alabama. Let me Judge Rusty Johnston here. Let me finish with that last caller. Of course, you are required to obey the law in whatever state you go to that has reciprocity with Alabama. You ought to have your gun, your handgun, in a place that's highly accessible. So if there's an attempted carjacking, etc., you can get to it quick. The best place is a high-rise, strong side holster. But let's just assume that you do what most people do, is to put them in the center console or a place like that. If your gun is in a place that cannot be seen, not in plain view, cannot be seen, and is not in an area where you're going to have to access to get your insurance papers, title, whatever is normally asked for, then, in my opinion, is what we teach is don't tell the police officer that you have a gun. You're not required to under our law, and he hadn't asked for it, and occasionally you'll run into somebody that doesn't think civilians should be carrying, and what are you doing playing cop? And you're going to be out there an extra 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. I don't believe in lying. Now, before I say that, there's no way to trace your car to your handgun. That's impossible to do. So when they're behind you, nobody can radio, okay, yeah, it's so-and-so, he's got to conceal. That's impossible. But if asked directly, you've got to decide whether you're going to answer that question truthfully. It's none of his business. He can ask you for your license, your registration. He can ask you what's your favorite color if he wants to. What's your favorite meal? He can ask you anything he wants. You don't have to answer that, and you do not have to answer whether or not you have a firearm in your car. Just like you do not have to answer where you going or where have you come from. Those are questions the Supreme Court has held you don't have to answer. In my opinion, it's not any of his business whether I've got a handgun in my car or not. And in New Orleans, if you answered that question affirmatively, you were pulled out of the car, your car was stripped, and your handgun was basically stolen by the police. That's just the fact it is. But check whatever state you're traveling in. Some states require, just like Glenn was talking about, that you inform the officer upon first contact. All right.
Glenn, you got a point to make.
Yeah. For your audience out there, and to add to what the judge was saying, there is an app in the App Store if you have an iPhone. It's called CCW. This is a concealed carry app. And this has all the rules, regulations for all 50 states. It shows reciprocity. If you're in Alabama, and let's say you're in Ohio, and you want to find out, hey, does Ohio recognize my license?
And it's
Go
for
to your
Android too, because I just downloaded it.
And it's also for Android too as well. Thank you. I believe it's $1.99. It's worth the money. Spend the money.
Yep.
$1.99, and the rules and regulations are constantly updated. It's always updated on a consistent basis, so you always have the right rules, the current rules for your concealed carry permit for every state. Get it.
It is really.
It's worth the money.
It is really good. I'll have to say.
Again, that's CCW.
One thing I learned tonight, it was this one.
Again, it's CCW, and the logo is a handgun with the U.S. flag behind it.
Good. Thank you for telling us that, Glenn. We're going to go to a caller real quick, Kevin from Mobile. Glad you could join us tonight.
How's it going?
Thank you, Kevin. Quickly, what you got?
Well, basically, what are the odds that two black guys get shot on two different cities? In two different cities, two black guys get shot. Both of them happen to be on video, and they both happen to make it to mainstream media. How does that happen? And then, you also say, well, let's get to the core of the problem, and the military is the core of the problem or whatever. I don't know exactly how you said it, but you are correct. The military is at the core of the problem, because how many of these quote-unquote terrorists have a military background? How many of them? I'm asking you.
Caller, are you referring to Micah X. Johnson and Gavin Long?
I'm referring to from Oswald to McVeigh to the guy that shot up people in Baton Rouge. From the beginning to the end, how many of these quote-unquote lone gunman terrorists have a military background? Okay? Now, there's your problem. There's agendas that get pushed, and the government is behind pushing agendas, okay? And they will lie, cheat, and steal you. It's psyops, people. A lot of this stuff is psyops. And I appreciate you letting me talk about this on air.
Yeah, sure. But we're about out of time.
I'm not done.
Well, we're done because we're about to call us next week. We got about 2 minutes to go before we got to sign. But okay, very interesting. But call earlier next time. All right.
Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too. All right, Glenn. By the way, Glenn's app. I want to make sure because there's several of them that are called the same thing. It is from at least on my Android, a company called Workman, like Workman's Comp, Workman Consulting LLC. $199, and it is darn well worth it. Because I've recommended handgunlaw.us, which is great if you're near, but this is better than that. It's very good, and I normally don't like phone apps because they're small, and this is set up for a phone. So it is excellent.
Yeah, and that app will keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, it is excellent because you got to obey the law in the state you're going to. You got to remember that. Except as to one, John Adams said when he was defending the British soldiers in the Boston Massacre, he said if an assault was made that endangered their lives, they had a right to kill in their own defense. And, if you only remember that today, that's still good law. If an assault was made that endangers your life, you have a right to kill in your own defense. And he won the cases. All but one who was convicted of something similar, let's say a criminally negligent homicide. All right, Adam.
Glenn, did you have anything else you want to add?
No, I just want to add just a few more things. Again, on the whole narrative of Black Lives Matter, I think it's a dangerous ideology that's weaponizing young black males like this Micah X. Johnson and also the Gavin Longs of the world. Now, to the last caller, to his one point, I will say this. It is unusual that both did have a military background. That is a little bit unusual to me.
But I don't think that makes the military.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Not
I think that's what the last caller was saying.
Yeah.
And it could be, the past 15 years, we've kind of been constantly at war and had a huge military buildup, which I don't think has necessarily been good. But that could be the reason.
Yeah. But I mean, this narrative that's being pushed by Black Lives Matter in the mainstream media, where it's white cops versus an unarmed black populace, this has to stop, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to have escalation. Escalation will lead to retaliation, which leads to more escalation. Martin Luther King Jr. was very smart. The reason why he chose the process of nonviolence, because he knew that any kind of retaliation would lead to escalation, and vice versa. Okay, there's something with nonviolence where you shame your oppressor into change, and that's the whole process of nonviolence. And when you look at the Black Lives Movement webpage, they don't have any sort of token or appreciation of Martin Luther King Jr. and what he has done. Black Lives Matter is not, I would even consider an offshoot of the whole civil rights movement. This is a whole different ideology that has sprung away from the classical civil rights movement sponsored by sponsored by Martin Luther King and others like him.
That's a good point. You brought some different points, maybe that necessarily we wouldn't think about. So we appreciate you joining us tonight. Glenn, we were talking about how time went by so fast tonight, and but we're glad you joined us. If you enjoyed our show, which I hope you did, we want to thank our sponsors and advertisers, and we have personally vetted each advertiser and sponsor, and we're glad to have them on our show. We want to call them out real quick. There's David Parnell at Palmer's Toyota, Dr. Justin Foster at Foster's Chiropractic of Tillman's Corner, Mamoon Siddiq at Remac Realtors, and McCoy Outdoors, of course. If you would like to advertise your business on Armed Alabama, or if you like the show and you just want to contribute, please contact the radio show or email us, adam@armedalabama.com or thejudge@armedalabama.com. Be sure and check us out on Facebook with Armed Alabama Radio, FM Talk 106.5, and Twitter, Armed Alabama 106.5. And, of course, check out our YouTube channel, Armed Alabama.
Good stuff there I've put up the past week. Yeah, good stuff at the YouTube channel, Armed Alabama. And we'll see you next week, 6 to 8, same time, same channel on Armed Alabama. And until then, be safe out there. And if you don't know about it, carry around in the chamber, but get educated about your gun, because believe me, that's the way to go. We'll see you next week. From all of us to all of you, and we thank the best producer in the world, Charlie Moss. He's been handling us and sitting us here for 3 months now, and any mistakes, blame on him. Listen to the archives on armedalabama.com/archives.